Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Multipli Podcast. Today, we are super excited to be joined by Phillip Vincent. Phillip is the CEO of Mom's House. He has a background in real estate. Phillip, welcome to the call.
Thank you for having me on here today, Josh. I'm excited to chat with what's happening right now in our country with the silver tsunami and all the people that need in-home healthcare.
Absolutely. Phillip, why don't you kick off and just tell us a little bit more about your personal and professional background?
Sure. I've been in real estate now 26 years. I built my first house when I was 20 years old, and that's pretty rare in my industry. I kind of did development back to what I do today, which is helping people in senior living, really from that transition from the forever home. I take great pride in I get to buy people's forever homes for a living when they're making that final descent into long-term care. The government tells us about 70% of boomers, the 100 million boomers by the year 2030 are going to need some sort of long-term care. And so what happens before that is the in-home healthcare space, because people want to age in place. No one, I don't think, wants to move into senior living. They want to age in place. And so the in-home healthcare business serves a great need for all these boomers that have had really a great life. If you think about it, one could argue they maybe had the best life ever. They had prosperous times almost their whole life, and they've got a ton of equity, about $30 trillion in equity sitting in their homes, and they're not ready to leave them yet. And today we're going to talk about some things that are new and exciting that can help the in-home healthcare space.
Absolutely. I love that. So, Phillip, before we dive in a little bit more into the logistics of Mom's House, real estate, clearly you can talk for a long time about that stuff. Share something personal. Give us a little bit more about, like, why do you want to start your own company? What's your reason for wanting to win?
You know, back in 2011, when I discovered senior living, I've been a real estate guy my whole life. And when I discovered senior living, what I found was I think we had bought like 111 houses that year. And it was like a Christmas party. We're talking about, a great year, popping the champagne, talking about what worked well. And we started talking about the stereotypical seller, what was going on in their lives. And the story that we told was the dad passed away 8 years ago. Mom's been doing the best she can. She just had a fall again. And now she's she's being told sometimes by the doctor, she has to move into long-term care. And that's really, in our world, it's about motivation. And, if somebody says, hey, I might list my house in the spring when all the buyers are out. Well, that's not real motivation. That's because they want to. Well, with this, it's because they have to. And so I started, my mentor said, you should go do that. I said, go do what? He said, you should go start talking to the senior living communities. And that's when it started. I actually didn't even start Mom's House until the end of 2019. And so, even though I've been doing this since 2011, the senior living side, what I found is with all the boomers, most of the inventory that's on the market for real estate is going to be boomers over the next 20 years.
Wow. What a great idea. So well before you officially created the brand behind Mom's House, you were running this play.
I'm still doing it today. I'm an active real estate buyer. I bought 3 houses last week, and it's, I'm helping those people when it's time to move into senior living. The first, it's 3 legs of the stool. Where will mom get the best care? And I say mom because it's the stats show 7 out of 8 people living in senior living are female. So even if dad's the one that's still alive, the family always jokingly says, what are we going to do with Mom's House? And that's why the company's named that, because dad just lived there, but it was Mom's house.
That's pretty interesting. It's a good point. I've never really thought about it, but as a kid growing up, it was always grandma's house, even though we're excited to see grandpa too, right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Very cool. What are some of the biggest hesitations and objections that you face from people as like you're having these types of conversations? Like I'm sure there's like some emotional stuff going on.
I always say that families that get along don't get along during this process. It's so emotionally charged. There's always the daughter, Judy. It's the adult daughter that lives closest to mom. Most of the brunt is falling on Judy. She might be 65 years old herself, helping an 85-year-old mother. There's another sister, Karen, that's, got her head in the sand thinking none of this is real. And then the brother lives, 5 states away. He's got all of his opinions, but he's not there to help. And so what's happening is the 3 legs of the stool is that where will mom find the best care? That's number one. And then immediately it goes to, oh crap, how are we going to pay $6,500 a month for this? We're going to need to sell. Here it is. I think we're going to need to sell Mom's house, and then it's like, oh, Mom's house hasn't been, a lot of these, like you said, your grandmother's house. I always say it's grandma clean. Mom got her new roof maybe in 2017 when the hailstorm came, and she got the new hot water heater. And I always jokingly say that mom got her new kitchen because, they bought it in 1968. She got her new kitchen in 1992. And now that kitchen is now dated. They've lived here so long that they still call it the new kitchen, but even that pickled cabinet kitchen has to be replaced. And so it's, what do we do with the house? What do we do with the stuff? And I could spend hours just talking about the stuff people have, because so many people identify with their stuff, especially if there's still the silent generation. Maybe they lived through depressions and things like this. They did not throw things away. And if you live someplace 50 years, you're going to accumulate a lot of stuff. So it goes, where will mom get the best care? What do we do with the house? What do we do with the stuff? And that's what we help families with here at Mom's House.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So obviously helping families. And I know that when we were talking before, you mentioned this is a huge value add to the in-home care space as well. Tell us more about that, Phillip.
So when I look at, everybody starts with a Band-Aid, right? If you don't have to put mom in 24-hour care, you're not going to. That bill's sky high. But then when you start looking at in-home healthcare costs, you can't get somebody to come to your house 1 hour a day. Almost all in-home healthcare has a 4-hour minimum. And you have to think about it from both sides. If you get somebody to drive across town to visit with mom, the drive time, if they're there for an hour, they might have more time in the car than they do for an hour. So they usually have 4-hour minimums. And then once you let in-home healthcare in, they say, hey, mom has dementia or mom has Alzheimer's or whatever's going on with mom. She really needs more hours than this. Well, you start to do the math. I think it's like, we can do the math quickly. 24 hours a day times 30 days a month. I think it's around $22,000 a month if you went full-time 24-hour care. And that's 3 shifts a day. And so when you say 22 grand, well, now even rich people are like, they're on pause going, 22,000 a month. That is a whole lot of money. We might need to start looking at long-term care solutions, because now all of a sudden it becomes the bargain versus the in-home care. And so in my, since 2011, I've been working with in-home healthcare communities that they come out and they help. And once that baton pass of going to long-term care, I don't think as a CEO, I don't think I've done a very good job at our value proposition for in-home healthcare, because in their mind, they're not concentrating on the person going out the door. They're concentrating on getting more people coming in the door, because they own a business too. And so what I'm excited to talk today about, from a 30,000 foot view for all of us here listening, is that there's this new thing called equity agreements that every state has different ones, different rules. And we've all heard of reverse mortgages. Well, you can't get a reverse mortgage if you don't live there any longer. And so what happens is they could look at reverse mortgage options, but the equity agreements, what these hedge funds have found, we can just use a few of them. They've lost billions of dollars buying up hundreds of thousands of homes since 2017. And what they found is, instead of buying a house for 500 grand or 400 grand, let's say the median home price in the country, if they buy the whole house for 400 grand, now they're a landlord, now they're a rehabber, now they're tenants and toilets. Now it's, now they have all the problems. What the equity agreements is, the genius of it, and I'll tell you the good and the bad and why I think it's going to work so well, is that, let's say me and you are brothers and mom is getting in-home health care and she's getting low on funds, and we want to keep her there because mom's goal is, they always say, you're going to buy this house for my kids because I'm going to live here forever. That's what they always say. Mom's not ready to move, but she's running low on funds. She doesn't have a job, she's been retired for 30 years. So what do families do to find more money? The equity agreement will allow them to sell a portion of the house. So for easy math, today we'll say they sell 25% of the $400,000 home. They get a check for 100 grand. Me and you as a brother, we get a check for mom for 100 grand. We've sold 25% of the home. And guess what? There's no payback. What? there's no payback. And we hear the word free money. It's, in life, there is no such thing as free money, but it feels that way. We get this check for 100 grand. Mom can live there maybe an extra year, maybe an extra 2 years, depending on what the in-home healthcare costs are. And that might be the catalyst that lets mom live out the rest of her days in the house that she's lived in for however long.
Wow. So how does that work, like, at the end then? Like, eventually the house has to be sold, right?
Yeah. And most of the contracts are written out. So each state's different. Each company's different. So when I say this, I'm going to give you just the most right answer. There's some nuance to all of this, but I've heard they have to pay it back in 8 to 10 years. They actually want them to keep it as long as possible because they can accrue more interest on that money that they've given. And they know that houses double in value every 15 years. So that there's some actuary that said, hey, when we do this, it's a pretty safe investment. And here's the genius from the hedge fund side. That check for $100,000, they don't have to worry about maintenance. They don't have to worry about the taxes on it. All they did is buy a piece of it. They're still not the actual homeowner. The mom in this case continues to be the homeowner.
Wow. That's brilliant, Phillip. I see how that's a really good short-term option, right?
It can be, but let me give you the negative side of it. Free money can be spent very quickly. It's a lot easier to spend it than it is to make it. And so when they get that check for 100 grand, they might take the trip to Italy. They might buy the granddaughter a car. They might have a gambling problem. I don't know. I'm making, it can easily be spent. And so what's going to happen is, I think they're going to go back to that well, because now the equity agreement company has first right of refusal to purchase the house. And what's really going to happen is they're going to get that next tranche of 100 grand. And now they've sold 50%, which is still okay. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to start eating away, because I do think that boomers are going to tap that 30 trillion in equity so as to not to have to leave.
Okay. Gotcha.
Good and bad, right? You can see how what's going to happen is it's kind of like, well, I've seen this a lot with reverse mortgages. I deal with the adult children, daughter Judy, and they say, Mom and Dad had their house paid off since 1992. Well, the parents didn't tell the kids they got a reverse mortgage, and now they owe more than what's owed. And it's like, we thought we were going to inherit that house. Well, there's no more equity left. And, for me, if Mom and Dad got to use the house longer than maybe they should have, that's a win for the parents. It was their house. It was their equity. I think that's a positive personally. Sometimes people, let's be honest, though, they still, they'll prosper with more care. So there's that conundrum of there's never a hard, fast answer here. It's always you're trying to make the best decision in the moment, which is why there's so much emotion with what we're talking about.
Gotcha. So if I'm wrong here, I'm hearing almost like two different paths that you offer, right? Where like if somebody wants to stay in home care, they can take this reverse mortgage option.
It's an equity agreement.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. They can take this equity agreement option, right?
Yeah,
this path here that gives them that quick cash flow. It's a percentage of the home value. It's good it can be a win-win as long as you manage the funds responsibly and you use them for the intended outcome.
Correct.
Or if somebody does need to go into senior living at a quicker pace, maybe it was faster than expected because of a fall or because of a car accident or whatever, right? Like something deteriorated quicker than expected. Tell us more about like the more traditional path, I guess, that you've been running with Mom's House. How does that work? The logistics there.
I've lost count of the amount of houses that I purchased where they just put in the $11,000 stand-up tub. It still has the sticker on the side of it.
Yeah.
Because they were doing the home modifications for Mom to live out the rest of her days. And then just, don't get old is what I've learned. Senior living, that's what I've learned. Don't get old. And if you do, be rich. And what I really mean is really be conscious of your mobility. When you lose your mobility, it's bad for everyone. And you need assets or money, which is why I love real estate so much, to be able to pay for care.
Absolutely. So again, explain to us, like for somebody that hasn't investigated your website at the level of detail that maybe I have before this call, explain to us like what is like that go-to Mom's House model for someone that needs to transition into like a senior care facility.
They're usually told by the doctor. So I'll give you a stereotypical story that Mom fell. She had a hip surgery. She's going to live. She's going to be in rehab for about 3 weeks. And then Medicaid's going to stop paying. And the doctors are going to say, Mom cannot move back home by herself. And now the kids are thrust into this, oh my goodness, situation of what are we going to do? And that real motivation to try to make a really hard decision of where Mom's going to get 24-hour care gets thrust upon them. And they're really trying to make some tough decisions. So number one, don't even think about the house or the stuff yet. It's where will Mom get the best care? So now you have to go out and do tours. There's these people called placement agents that we are here at Mom's House, the senior transition specialist. We meet with the family. It's a complimentary service. It's akin to being a buyer's agent for senior living, meaning we get paid from the community 1 month's rent is how it normally works. So if it's $6,500 a month to live there, I take Susie Q in, she moves in, I get paid 1 month's rent. And then 9 times out of 10, they have a house that they're going to need to sell. So then I'm going to list the property for them, or I'm going to buy it as is as an investor, depending on the condition of the house. And then I also help them with their stuff. And so we holistically meet with the family. We open the books up, talk about all their options. I always try to sit on this proverbial and literal. I sit on the same side of the table with them, not negotiating against adversarially. It's more, I'm sitting on the same side of the table as if I'm a brother or an uncle saying, hey guys, here's all of our options. Let's make the right decision for your family and for Mom.
That's awesome. It's really cool that you package all of those services together, Phillip, because I imagine that a lot of people, they struggle when they're meeting with like multiple parties trying to accomplish that same end goal. The fact that you're on the placement agency side, having an understanding of where their finances are at and how much equity they may have available, right? I feel like, especially with somebody that has the right heart posture towards wanting to help people, that can be really beneficial for the client at the end of the day, to just work with one person who can help them with the entire transition start to finish.
And a lot of our students are female real estate agents. And stereotypically, females have more empathy. And I always say, if you're a guy and if you don't know if you have empathy, go ask your wife. She'll tell you in 2 seconds if you're empathetic or not. And, I'm the founder of the company. I've had success with this. You just have to be empathetic in what's going on in the family's lives. Way more than the transactional nature of most investors.
Makes sense. You mentioned students. How many students do you have? I know that Mom's House is nation.
Yes, we have about 300 right now that are active across the country.
Okay. And is there like a program that you guys have?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Well, we call this tooting our own horn in the Vincent household. So forgive me. It's been created on Christine Sevier's. She's a referral and placement agent in California. Her 10 years of experience, my 20 years of real estate. We've created over 40 hours of content down to the, the fine tooth comb, the nitty gritty of this industry. Senior living has its own language. And a lot of real estate agents don't start with a give. I always think of them as, I have a license, so I feel like I can talk about it. They remind me of Oprah, but instead of giving away cars, they give away cards. It's like, you get a card, you get a card, you get a card. And they think they're networking. And senior living needs you to be more than that. And so if you look at the way the silver tsunami and the hockey stick growth of what's happening right now with all the boomers looking for care, if you're in real estate, this is a really cool thing to get involved with, because 9 times out of 10, they have a house that they own outright that they need to sell anyway. And so if you're a real estate person, I'll give you an example. There's 2 million real estate agents in the nation, 2 million, 1.4 million of them did 0 transactions last year. So
believe that.
And even with what's remaining, even they don't have a huge slice of the pie. And so there's less than 1,500 referral and placement agents in the nation servicing the 70,000 communities. So there's really a shortage on this end. And it's like the front door to the real estate, because these people, when you're helping them find care, you're organically sitting there talking about the house. You're usually sitting in the living room or the kitchen talking about, where's mom going to get the best care? And we look around, we're like, oh, it's the house we're sitting in right now is most likely what's going to pay for that.
Wow. Really cool. The more I'm hearing from you, the more I'm seeing this can just be a win-win-win, again, when everybody's hearts are in the right place here.
Correct. And that's the hard part. I mean, I think most investors, you think about the insanity of when I created Mom's House, is investors are known to take advantage of seniors. Seniors are known to get taken advantage of. And I built a business around that. It's like, well, hold on. But when people come to Mom's House, they always say, Phillip, this felt different than most real estate investing strategies. And that's a good thing, because we strive very much to be different than what most investors are.
That's awesome. How do you vet for that as you're training up your students?
Browbeating. And here's the thing about senior living too. They're very collaborative when they know, like, and trust you. And it's easy to get known. It's a little bit harder to get liked, but then trust is where we're going. And I think when you start with a give, when you provide value and you're there for the right reasons, you're doing the volunteering, you're doing the networking in the right places, you're doing the right things, people start to see your heart condition. And I always say a leopard can't hide his spots for very long. So I think the industry kind of weeds it out anyway. They won't have success. They won't build the relationships the right way. And so, we use this phrase that 20 is plenty. And what I mean by that is, we've got 52 different job titles in senior living that we want to network with. We'll go find 2 executive directors, go find 2 finance directors, go find 2 of each, and you've got 104. I only need 20 of those people to know, like, and trust me, because every day they're dealing with families that they could refer to me that could bring me business. And, if you have 20 referral sources and I'll give you an example, 180 bed community loses approximately 50% of their patrons every year. So there's, this misnomer of we're 100% occupied. That's true. But the executive director can't sleep because it's a constant revolving door, right? And so they're constantly getting graded on census. They get fired over the census if it's not high enough. And so we try to help them alleviate some of the pain points as to why they're not moving in. It's always the house and the stuff.
That makes sense. So you're significantly, like, just the general model of Mom's House. I'm sure you guys have the data on this. What's it cut down the average sales cycle?
Weeks instead of months.
Weeks instead of months.
And do that math real quick. Post-COVID, it used to be a blended average stay from independent, assisted, memory care, and skilled of 28 months. Post-COVID, it's only 21 months. So even 2 months is a 10% difference in profitability for the communities if they can move them in, right? It's not a little deal. I mean, it's actually a gigantic deal. And I don't know. I'll give you guys an analogy that I like. Senior living, the long-term care communities are like a car dealership that doesn't buy the trade-in. And so if you think about it, if you went to a car dealership today and they did not buy a trade-in, what would happen for you, Josh, buying the new car? What would you have to do? You'd have to turn around and leave.
Sell the car.
You'd have to figure out Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, it'd be inconvenient.
You'd buy the Armor All, you'd hit the tire, you'd have to go do all this. And literally they spend millions of dollars a month to get people to do tours, only to, I even saw somebody do this gesture. And then I told them to go find a real estate person and figure that out. And when you get that figured out, come back and see me. And I'm like, okay, there's this huge opportunity here. I don't want senior living to start buying the trade-in. Even though they're in the housing business, they'll never say that. They're in the care business, which is, by the way, the hardest business in the world. Is a super tough business. They're in the housing business though, but they don't buy the trade-in. That's the opportunity for Mom's House, whether it's listings or as is purchases. If you want to build a rental portfolio, a lot of these houses are perfect for that.
Wow. Love that. That's really cool, Phillip. So obviously, like we've talked at Multipli Tech, we specialize in custom software, mobile apps, websites, and we've been doing a lot of AI and technology consulting for small businesses, specifically some companies in the in-home care and the healthcare space over the past several months, which is why we launched this podcast. I'm curious, from your perspective with your background in both real estate and being connected to the senior living space like this, what are you seeing from like a marketing and tech perspective in terms of innovation? And what are you guys maybe doing at Mom's House and in your portfolio of companies that's been working for you?
With AI, you have a technology that never sleeps. And when you hire humans with all our fallibilities, the AI is always going to win. And so there's these charts that show if you let a lead even sit for 20 minutes, your close rate drops really, really low. And what's the right way to say this? They're in the care business. They're not in the marketing business. A service like yours is super needed for their business to not let the leads fall through the cracks, the families fall through the cracks. They need to put every single one of those. It can be automated out. AI can answer the phone calls. It can set the appointments. It can do a lot of the things that the human used to be able to do, and it can do that automatically now. And I always like it. If you needed, it's 100 degrees right now. If you needed an HVAC person, you're going to call until someone answers the phone. And so if you're that person that answers the phone, you can't call back a day later, or I won't say you're going to be out of business. You're going to be way behind in business versus having the technologies that are out there today. Inside the communities, there's a lot of technology that's happening, from sonar and fall detecting those things. There's a lot of really cool things that are happening that's going to start getting into the houses as well. I've got this argument with a buddy of mine. He owns 5 care homes. Are we 5 years away from robotic caregivers? Because one of the biggest problems in even the in-home healthcare side is the worker shortage. Some of my in-home healthcare people say, Phillip, I could double my business tomorrow if I had more qualified care. And so the two biggest things I think for the entire industry is qualified workers, and then converting prospects into clients, keeping that census high.
And we say the same thing, Phillip, when we're talking to people about things like inbound calling systems and AI agents. Like, our philosophy about AI, sometimes people are scared about AI, right? And they say, it's going to take my job. And at the end of the day, is it? Yeah, it probably will, but it's going to take my job. No, I'm just kidding. Like, here's our approach. Our approach genuinely is, let's let tech do what tech can do so that people can do what only people can do.
Yes.
And especially in this space, probably it's punctuated more than just about any industry that we've worked in so far. The people piece is the relationships, is providing great care. That's what only people can do. And we want to help providers in the space to be able to do just that, not to have to focus on busy work, not red tape, not making sure that data converts at the level that humans can't they can't perform at the level that AI can and technology can in certain systems. So that's our philosophy behind what we do. And we tell companies, hey, like, why would you spend all this money in marketing? Why would you spend all this time building relationships when you have holes in your bucket?
Totally.
And I was thinking the same thing as you were sharing about how you're closing the gap in terms of lead time for many of these companies. They have holes in their bucket. They have an inefficient system that allows them to not even capture all of the leads that they're bringing in, right? So you close that gap, we can close that gap. It's pretty neat.
Josh, I think a lot about 120 years ago. I think it was like 95% of Americans had one job. Do you know what that job was? 120 years ago, 95% of Americans had one type of job. Do you know what that was?
Hunting? No, I don't know.
Farmer. You're close. They were all farmers. And the Industrial Revolution came and technology came and people figured it out. I feel the same way with AI. It's going to happen. And the people that get in front of it will prosper, and the ones that don't will be left behind. Humans will figure out what we're going to do with our time. And I liken it to this, the pendulum swing, is that it'll make the less smart people, it'll let them not have to do as much, not think as much, and their brains might atrophy. But also it goes the other way. If you gave the smartest 1,000 humans the power of AI, think about what their production can be. And the production, especially in America right now, we need more production. And I think to create new things. And I think that we're on a journey right now there's nothing been like it before. And so it is interesting. If you don't wake up excited every day about the future, you can be scared about it if you want, or you can embrace it and really be a forerunner in what's happening.
Absolutely. Totally agreed. Phillip, why don't you close with this? Why don't you close with one or two stories, like really impactful stories, obviously without sharing names, of just like people you've been able to help in the course of Mom's House in your 25 years now of running this model, the 6 years under the Mom's House brand. And then the last thing is like who you're looking to connect with right now. How can people get in touch with you? Who does it make sense to connect with you, Mom's House? Why don't you wrap us up?
Sure. I've got hundreds of stories, but there's a couple that I think about. I get hugs from grown men all the time and women because this one part's going to go easy for them. This one, because everything's going hard. Mom fell. Mom had to have surgery. Mom's in rehab. Mom's being told she can't move back home. What do you mean it's $8,000 a month for the place that we like? When the real estate agent says to get top dollar, you now need to go rehab this whole house. Well, they're like, I got to throw good money after bad, right? It's like, they have so much weight on them when they get the mom's house offer. A lot of times they're like, okay, this one thing's going to go easy. I get hugs from them. I see the weight come off of their shoulders. And we talk about the F word a lot. It's fulfillment. We have a lot of fulfillment in this job because you can see the weight come off of their shoulders. I remember one lady, she was an art teacher. It was a little bit rural St. Louis area, by the St. Louis metro area. And I just signed the contract to buy her dad's house. Her dad was moving into senior living. And we were sitting in the car. It had just started pouring rain in the summertime, just downpour. So we're sitting in the car just talking. And she starts crying. I say, hey, what's going on? And she said, I didn't realize how hard all of this was going to be. And that's that emotional side of like, man, we really do help people with something that do we make it easy? No. Do we make it easier than if they wouldn't have found us? Definitely. We definitely do. And so I take great pride in what we do. The tsunami's here the next 20 years, Josh. You and I are both going to be in senior living as much as we want to be, because these boomers that have all this equity, they're going to want a safe landing. They've had a great life. Dare I say, even a bougie life. They've had a pretty great life so far. They're going to spend that equity. And so if you're an adult child, I don't know if you're going to inherit that money or not, because I think they're going to use it to pay for their care. And rightfully so. It's their equity, their house. So I think that's what they deserve to get, is good quality care for the rest of their days.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. The difference that you and the whole team at Mom's Care are making. Thanks so much, Phillip, for jumping on today, sharing a little bit more your wisdom in the real estate space, in the senior living area. How can people connect with you, or who specifically are you looking to connect with? Obviously, senior living facilities, obviously people who are potentially stepping into that season of life with their parents that need a place to be able to land. Who else should connect with you here?
If you want a really cool job, a fulfilling job, go to momshouse.com. And if you're not already in real estate, that's fine. In fact, it's almost easier to train you how to do this and not talk only like a commissioned real estate agent is. A lot of times, most of my training is on how not to be so real estate agent-y, even though I have been one for 20 years. So anyone that would like a job in this space, the referral and placement business, we need more help. There's less than 1,500 people in the nation doing this. That leads to some of the most organic real estate leads I've ever found, some of the best real estate leads I've ever found. And it's a fun way to do this business, especially, one house with real estate doubling every 15 years, one $250,000 house today is going to be worth $1 million in 30 years. If you buy one rental house, you could be a millionaire in 30 years based on what the history has shown us. And so having that lead source, those families that need to sell their house, if you want to get into real estate, this is a really fun way to do it with a ton of more fulfillment, you need more empathy. But it's something that's, if you look at the way things are trending, it's hockey stick growth. In the startup world, it's up and to the right. I mean, it's really hard to argue with the numbers that are right here in front of us.
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Phillip. We'll make sure that all the information on you, Mom's House, is included and all the links connected to where we distribute this podcast. We appreciate your time and are wishing you and Mom's House the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.